I have created the perfect team in Football Manager 2024 to see how long it will take them to lose their first match. And the cool thing about this experiment is I actually did this in FM23, so I was able to reload that save file into FM24, but we have made this version even better. So in making the perfect team, we have made the club perfect in every single way. We have maxed out their reputation, their morale, and their attendance. Looking at their income, we have given them £1 billion in the bank balance as well as a huge payroll. So they have a ton of money. But to compound upon that, we have also given them a number of revenue streams, including loads of sponsors, a huge individual TV deal, and stadium sponsors and general sponsors that renew at a fixed income every year. So this club is as financially healthy as it could be. They will never have to worry about their income. Finally, we have given the club the perfect stadium with $150,000 seating capacity, which is the maximum value that you can give them in game. And we have given them perfect facilities. So they have perfect training facilities, youth facilities, junior coaching, and youth recruitment. So the club has perfect infrastructure in every way possible. And to go with that perfect infrastructure, the perfect team has to have the perfect players. So we have 23 players here, I believe, maybe 26, including the goalkeepers. And every single one of them has a 20 for all of their attributes. And the last time I did this, I think that the in-game editor might have nerfed some of the players, but I have gone through every single player this time and made sure that every single player has a 20 for all of their attributes and a model citizen personality. So this is our goalkeeper or one of our goalkeepers. They have 20s for everything. Looking at the perfect player 1 here, they have 20s for everything. Perfect player 11, 20s for everything. And going all the way down to perfect player 22, every single player here is perfect. And to add on to that, most of them aren't on a very big salary. We will just keep renewing their contracts at the salary they're on. As you can see, it's not too much. And their contracts expire 5 years from now. And they have a transfer range for 5 years from now. But we're just going to keep extending this transfer out. We're going to keep extending their contracts out so that all of these players stay with the club forever, essentially. I'll also add that all of the players have had their attributes frozen, which is something I might have missed last time. So every player has frozen attributes. So this means they will be perfect for the rest of their careers. Their attributes will never change. And the other thing I've done is I've made half of the squad English and half of the squad Filipino. I'm just curious to see which nation will win the World Cup over the course. I'm assuming this will be longer than 4 or even 8 years. So hopefully we'll go have a couple of World Cup cycles, and I'm curious to see how each nation does with essentially a perfect squad at their disposal. So to go with the perfect players and the perfect infrastructure, we also have the perfect staff. We are going from the perfect technical director to the perfect head coach, head of youth development, a perfect set of coaches, and a few perfect scouts as well. I was going to go through and change all of these, but for the most part, pretty much everyone here is perfect. And for some context, this is the perfect manager. He has 20s for all of his attributes. I also changed his preferred tactical style and preferred formation to a 4-3-3 and control possession, which I didn't do last time. I think this might make him even better to have a formation and tactical style that really suits this team. So I think that will be very beneficial for the perfect team. So that is what the perfect team looks like. And we're going to simulate until they lose their first game. But we're going to do this with a little bit of a twist. Personally, I'm more curious to see when they lose their first league game. Given what we saw last time we did this, there is the potential for them to lose a cup game here and there, just from the AI not really being able to rotate very well, and just with games coming thick and fast, especially in January. So I am expecting the perfect team to lose a couple of cup games. I think that's just the way it's going to go. We are, of course, going to see how long it takes them to even do that. But what I'm more curious of is how long it will take the perfect team to lose their first league game. Because I think that's when the AI doesn't really care about rotating. They always play the best team then. Not that there is a best team, every player is perfect. But I'm curious to see when they lose their first league game and how long that will take. So I don't even know how. Let's go 1 year into the future. We'll start 1 year into the future and we'll keep going from there. And we'll see what the perfect team can do. So I will see you all in one season. We are back, and unsurprisingly, in season one, the perfect team went undefeated in the league. 38 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses, 167 goals scored, 11 goals allowed, 114 points. What a season. And looking at their season one schedule, did they lose a game? Nope, they didn't lose. They didn't draw. This was the perfect season in every sense. I'm assuming they won like every award. So player of the year went to the perfect player 7, head coach of the year went to the perfect manager, top goal scorer was 3 of the perfect players. That is awesome. Team of the year, the team of the year was not entirely the perfect team. Sergio Gomez got in, and Erling Haaland and Kai Havertz. But the perfect team had 8 people in the team of the year. That's insane. The young player of the year was one of the perfect players. The player of the year is one of the perfect players. And the Golden Glove went to the perfect goalkeeper. Well, given that the perfect team did so well in season one, we have them here for 5 years until 2027. So I say let's just go forward to 2027 and we'll see what's up then. Welcome back. We are in 2027, so 5 years from the start of the save. And in 2027, the perfect team, 38 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. The season before that, exact same thing. The season before that, they did draw twice. All right, but we still don't have a loss in the league. And sure enough, going back to season one, they just have those 2 draws and 0 losses. So they are still undefeated in the league, so we still will move on. But let's see how they did overall. This was season one. Looking at season two, sure enough, they won every single game, including the Champions League final. They have everything. All right, going into the next season, this is when they drew 2 games in the league, but looking down, oh, they did lose a match. So in season 3, they lost in the Champions League phase. That being said, they still went on to win the Champions League. But it only took 3 seasons for them. Did they lose any other matches? They did not. So we do have a loss in season 3. It's a little disappointing. But again, I'm not surprised given, rotation and I mean, look at the number of games they played in January. So we will continue on because we are going until they lose their first league match. But take note of that in the back of your mind. They have lost in the Champions League. And that does suggest they're fallible. So they could lose in the league at some point in the future. Looking at the next season, oh my word, they won every game. Wow, they won every game, including the club. They beat Real Madrid 9-0 in the Club World Championship before winning 2-0 in the Champions League final. They're literally winning everything. 2026-27, they won everything again. Wow, this is insane. And then we're at the most recent season. Well, they've been absolutely insane. They do have the 1 loss in the Champions League phase, but given that they haven't lost in the English Premier Division, we are going to keep this going. So as you can see, I've extended everyone's contracts another 5 years, and I've extended to when they're going to be at the club for another 5 years. But they do have some players coming through the ranks. It looks like they have signed a few players, so potentially we could see those perfect youth facilities coming into good use as they bring in a few players. But we're in 2027. Maybe we just go forward 5 years at a time. So why don't we go forward to 2032 to when all of this ends, and we'll see how they've done in those 5 seasons. Welcome back. We are in 2032. I thought we'd just start by looking at the past winners. The perfect team has won all of them. I mean, they're just insane. I mean, they're the perfect team. Of course, they're insane. So looking at the last 5 seasons. In the previous season, again, 38 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. They are nuts. Oh, they did get a draw one season. There was a draw. I don't see a loss yet, though. 38 wins. Jeez. They are insane. And then back to 2027. I mean, they've got 114 points more often than they have less points. That is crazy. Let's take a look at their schedule over the past 5 years. And they beat Arsenal 4-0 in the Champions League final. The number of games they must be playing must be absolutely insane every season. But they won every match there. They did draw in the league. We did see that. They did draw in the league. Anthony scored. But they won the Champions League final and they won every match in the 2029-30 season. How did they do then? They won every game. They're actually doing better than I think they did in the previous experiment. That might be because I helped them out a little bit more in this one. Absolutely insane. 2027-28. They did draw against Arsenal, but they didn't lose. So they do just have that one loss, and then this is where we were previously. So they do have that one loss in season 3 against Chelsea in the Champions League phase. However, they've won pretty much every game since then. They haven't lost in like 8 years. And obviously they are still undefeated in the league. They must have some insane records. Well, we are 10 seasons in from where we were. Again, all those contracts are expiring. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to extend out those contracts. We're going to extend the players' time at the club. Let's go 5 seasons again into the future and see how they're doing in 2037. And welcome to 2037, where the perfect team has won the past 15 English Premier Divisions. But have they lost a game in those 15 seasons? We're finding out. Well, they didn't lose last season. They did draw the season before that, but still no losses. And they didn't win or they didn't lose or draw then. They didn't lose or draw then. And going back to where we were previously, this will go on forever. Genuinely, they never lose in the league the way this is going. How long can I keep? Let's look at the ages of the players. I mean, obviously their attributes are frozen, so they'll never get worse. I don't know how long, like, will they retire? If I keep extending their contracts and I just keep going with like keeping them at the club and extending out a free transfer, will they retire? I don't know how long I can keep doing this for, but I guess we're gonna find out. And looking at the last 5 years, have they lost in any capacity? They won every match last season. Did I say lost in there? No, no, they just had a draw. So they still haven't lost. Didn't lose there. They did go to extra time in the Champions League final, so they almost lost, but they still won, obviously. And they still didn't lose. And this is where we were before. They won 15-0 in a match. That's nuts. Oh, they did lose in the Champions League phase again, though. Okay. So they've lost 2 matches in 15 seasons, but both of them came in the Champions League. They might never lose in the EPL. Like, genuinely, they might never lose. But they do have 2 losses in the Champions League phase. So in 15 seasons, the perfect team has only lost twice. But still, we keep on going. So again, I will be extending out their time at the club and extending those contracts. And they might never lose it. Honestly, they might never. I'm very curious to see how long I can keep doing this for it and if any of these players will retire. Because if they don't retire, we're just going to keep going on. And if they never lose in the league, is it possible that this could go on indefinitely? I have no idea. But we're in 2037. We're going to go another 5 years into the future. Let's see what happens. Well, we are 5 years into the future. The perfect team, I believe now, if we go to their history and competitions, they have 20 English Premier Division wins and 19 Champions Leagues. They are now the holders, I believe. If we look at the records, they have the most Champions League victories ever, and they are now tied, if we look at the records, for most times winning the English Premier Division. So they've literally done everything. But the question is, have they lost a game in the last 20 years? So let's go through the last 5 years. And those three draws, I think that's the most draws we've seen in a season. But they didn't lose, but they might be fallible, so they could have lost. So that's 2040-41. They lost two, they had two draws there. Oh, well, they did have a 38 win season, so still nothing yet. Oh, they've lost. They lost one match. Oh, they lost one match in the 2038-39 season. That was just the one season after we saw them last. So that's it. The perfect team's lost. Well, it's over. And hovering over it, they lost one game to Liverpool away from home. So Liverpool is the team that has the distinguished title of ending this experiment. Wow. And looking at the perfect team, you know what? Their players probably deserve to retire. All of them are in their late, like, they're pretty much all 40 or above 40 years old now. So it took that long, but they finally lost a game. Wow. I'm curious to see their schedule for the last few seasons, and they beat United in the Champions League final. But I mean, they were absolutely insane. The previous season, they drew to Everton. They were getting a lot more draws. I wonder if the age was becoming a factor or if something was. Because, I mean, at the beginning of the experiment, like, they were winning 38 games every season, 38 league games every season, but we saw a lot more draws. And sure enough, there is that loss. It wedged between two Champions League matches and a Carabao Cup final. Sure enough, that was in a very busy period. I'm sure that contributed to the loss. But there it is. In March 12th, 2039, they lost their first league match. But given now that they have lost their first league match, I want to see what's happened. Let's look at records and awards. So looking at their history and looking at their overview, 19 Champions League, 20 EPLs, 20 FA Cups, 20 Carabao Cups, 5 Club World Championships. They literally won everything they could have won. And looking at their records, let's see what we've got. Most points in a season, 114. A perfect way to do that. 38 wins, most league wins in a season. Obviously, they went undefeated a number of times. Most league goals scored in a season, 169 goals. That is insane. And I hope you guys can see these sequences. So, how many matches were they able to win in a row? And again, this does include the Champions League. We'll look at English Premier Division records in a little bit. But they won a whopping 224 matches in a row. That was the longest streak between 2028 and 2031. So that was no losses, no draws, only victories. Most matches without losing, 522 matches from 2025 when they lost to Chelsea to 2032 when they lost to Real Madrid. They never really lost more than one game, so they were absolutely insane. Wow. Looking at the English Premier Division, I am curious to see what the most matches won in a row and the most matches without losing were. So right at the top of your screen there, most matches won in a row, 227. That was from 2025 to 2031. They went 6 years without drawing or losing a match. And most matches without losing, 638. That is insane. A part of me wishes they got to 1,000, but 638 matches without losing from 2022 to 2039. They also had 25 matches without conceding, 169 team goals. What an absolutely phenomenal record. This is so cool. Looking at the awards, yeah, a member of the perfect team won the Player of the Year every year, but Perfect Player 7 was notably good. So looking at their career stats, I wonder why. Is it because maybe they were forward? They played on the right wing. I don't know why the Perfect Player 7 seemed to win everything. But he has 128 competition wins in his career. He's won everything so many times. It's crazy. The perfect manager won the manager of the year every single year that he was at the club. But what I'm really curious to see is the team of the year. Did we ever get a full team of perfect players? Nope. There's one person every year. Oh, we never got a perfect 11. I don't think we ever did. Sure enough, there's always a few. We've had a few where just one other person got in. Maybe they couldn't do it, but it doesn't look like we never had 11 perfect players. The most we ever had was 10. Looking at the World Player of the Years, the perfect team has had a representative every year. So the Ballon d'Or, someone from the perfect team won it every year. Perfect Player 7 was dominant in the World Player of the Year there. World Team of the Year, Perfect Team was definitely there a lot. But yeah, I don't think if we didn't get it with, we got 10 there. That's pretty cool. But if we never got it in the English Premier Division, oh, we were really close again. I don't think we'll get it with the World Team of the Year. But we've been mighty close. We got 10. We got 10 players in the Team of the Year once. So that's really cool. But yeah, so they never had 11 players in the World Team of the Year, but they did get 10, which is pretty impressive. Well, that is everything for the club. But as we mentioned earlier, we had a bunch of perfect players for English. A bunch of them were Filipino. Let's see what it looked like as far as the World Cup and how both countries were concerned. I've got my fingers crossed that the Philippines won a World Cup. And looking at the World Cup, the Philippines won one World Cup. So England won three, the Philippines won one. But the Philippines won a World Cup, and we even had an England versus Philippine World Cup final matchup. We're definitely going to have to take a look at that. I'm assuming after 2034, they all retired from international duty, so everything was back to normal. But oh man, the Philippines won a World Cup. That's so cool. I am just looking at the Philippines schedule. So in the previous World Cup in 2038, they were knocked out in the third round. I'm sure that a bunch of players had retired at that point. Going back to 2034, oh, they lost in the final 7-0. Oh man, I wonder how did they lose 7-0? Oh, but they beat Uganda 11-0. They absolutely trounced their way to the World Cup final, but England was just too much. Oh, 7-0 is a little disappointing. Going back to 2030, first of all, some of these scores are outrageous. 10-0 over South Africa, 12-0 over Serbia, 19-0 over Morocco, and then a more normal 7-1 scoreline. But unfortunately, they did lose 3-0 to England in the World Cup semifinal. I wonder if them two just knocked each other out. And then in the World Cup third place playoff, though, they won 5-0 over Italy. And going back to 2026 to the Philippines victory, again, some nuts scorelines. They won 8-0 in the World Cup final over Norway, 13-0 in the semifinal. Wow. But it was a 2-1 victory over England. That's the one I was looking for. So the 2-1 victory over England in the quarterfinal paved the way for that World Cup victory. But again, 13-0, 13-0, 13-0. That's absolutely insane. Looking at England's World Cup victories in 2034, they also had some pretty crazy outcomes, but obviously that 7-0 win over the Philippines. And they won in 2030. Honestly, it was pretty normal. They didn't have any double digit, 6-0 in the World Cup final. That's not normal. And only allowing one goal. But they didn't have any double digit wins in 2030, interestingly. I was also curious just to see some of the Philippines records. They had some pretty interesting ones. 201 goals from the perfect player 12, 164 caps and 201 goals. That's pretty awesome. That is insane. I mean, that destroys Cristiano Ronaldo's record right now. 6 goals in a match was the most by any given player. And looking at their sequences, they did 28 matches in a row and went 28 matches without losing. So that's pretty cool. So overall, I mean, again, perfect clubs, but some really wild score lines and some pretty cool things coming out there. Well, that ended up being 20 years of the perfect team with perfect infrastructure, perfect staff, and perfect players. They won everything they had to win. and they had an insane, what was it, like 652 unbeaten match run in the league, and they only lost like 3 games in 20 seasons. This was a really fun experiment. This was a really fun database to make. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. And again, I hope everyone's having a wonderful week, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.